DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Hans Olsen is back, co-host of Hans and Scotty G. Join us to talk football 2 weeks out from the first weekend of college football. Hans, good morning.
Well, here's a crazy memory for you, DJ. This goes back to 2006, my first year on air with you guys. PK was out. I filled in for him. You and I were at Granados, eating some amazing sandwiches and some incredible cake. That is 18 seasons now. It's just crazy how time flies, man.
Yes, we agree with you on that. Time is flying. And the funny thing is, we get older, the kids stay the same, and the players go through a lot of the same stuff. College football changes a little bit, but here it is, another quarterback derby, and it's going on and on. Now, other quarterback derbies have gone on and on for different reasons. There are times the coaches have said, well, if I name one, the other guy's going to transfer, so I'm going to play them both in the first game, and we'll keep this thing going. And in this case, I don't know that fits because I think Retzlaff's pretty invested in Bohannon's at the end of his eligibility, so I don't think that's a factor, although I don't know, transferring's crazy, maybe it is. And the Bohannon's coming back from an injury, so they're trying to give him time to show what he can do, and from everything we're hearing, he's doing a lot more. He's made major progress. We're hearing that from him and from coaches and from receivers. And then I also think there's a chance that both these guys are going to start at some point this season, so they might as well keep prepping like they're both going to be starters, because at some point they both are going to be starters. Maybe there's another reason out there. Why is this maybe it's just legitimately that close. What do you think? What do you know?
I think it's legitimately that close, and I think each bring a unique component, and I think that they're probably looking at their running back situation, trying to figure out how available LJ Martin will be and what they can do in their run game with LJ. The other thing is they want to get it right so they don't have to second-guess themselves and then make a different decision 2 or 3 games later after some hiccups, because the last thing they want to do is make the decision and then have a mess on their hands and then have to say, okay, we were wrong. Yeah, we evaluated it as long as we did, and we were wrong, and have to go back to the drawing board. The other thing is, what exactly is forcing them to make the decision? You know, Aaron Roderick said, well, we wanted to get to a point where everybody on the team is like, duh, yeah, that's the starter. Well, that might be the case already. At least it always was in our camps. Like within a week, within maybe 2 weeks, it was like, yeah, duh, that's the starter. Even that year that we went through Charlie Peterson and Brandon Doman and
Ingeman.
What's that?
Ingeman.
Yeah, Brett Ingeman. Like we went through a race of quarterbacks going into that season. We all kind of knew who the guy was going to be at that point, and then we kind of watched the rotation of it because of injury and because of other necessities. And I just think they want to get it right. I don't think they feel like they have to absolutely come out and announce it until they know for a fact. And so they're just slow playing it.
Well, if it's that close 3 weeks into camp, can they get it wrong? You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I think they can, because and it's crazy because it feels like a duh thing to me. I look at Gary Bohannon and I'm just like, duh, like he's healthy, he's been at this level, he's won at this level, he looks really good. I've been out there, I've had an opportunity a couple times to see his movements, and just to see him standing next to McKay Hillstead and see him standing next to Jake Retzlaff, and then see him exit the pocket and the way he does it, and then see the traditional fluid throw motion over the top instead of the sidearm flip and fling like Retzlaff. And there's a lot of things I see. I'm like, duh, that's duh. Like, make it him. But I do think, and I don't know why. I think it's going to be Bohannon, and I'm not 100% what is keeping them from announcing it other than the fact they don't have to.
Retzlaff's ability to run, you mentioned, is LJ going to be healthy? How much does that factor into how they deploy him and their quarterbacks?
Well, I worry about it because a season without LJ Martin where you didn't bring any transfers in for the first time in a few years, and there's not a ton of depth. And I know Hinkley Rapati's got a bunch of upside, and I do like Miles Davis. He can get outside so well, but a year without LJ Martin could be a long year at that running back position. So I think you slow play it. I think you slowly ease him back into hits, and depending on whatever that injury is, I think that you just take it really slow until you get to conference play. Thing is, you know you're going to need him against SMU and Wyoming, so you're going to have to throw him into full action if you feel like you're pressed in a need. But I just want to make sure that they do everything possible to make sure LJ Martin is there through conference play.
DJ was asking earlier if we thought that BYU had professional or NFL receivers. I said I wasn't sure. I didn't think so. What do you think?
I think Chase Roberts he's NFL potential. I think Darius Lassiter has a lot to prove, and there's some unknowns. I don't think Keelan Marion is. I don't think Cody Epps is. But I do think that they're all really good college football players. I do think Chase Roberts has the size, and I think that he's got the hands and he's got the confidence that maybe he gets a shot. Maybe if he blows up this year, maybe back in 6th, 7th round or something. But I think that he is a potential next level receiver. He's a durable body too, and I just love his game. But I think that the other guys, Kingston and everybody else that I've mentioned, I think that they've just got a lot more to prove.
Maybe Phillips down the road.
I really like JoJo. I do, and I like Tay, the new Nakua boy. I've had an opportunity to see him a little bit, and I like him a lot. He's got some confidence. It's funny because I'm out there watching him, and I feel like I'm watching a smaller version of Samson. And we all watched Samson for a lot of years when he was at University of Utah and then made his transition to BYU, and now he's getting his shot with the Saints and getting another NFL shot. I hope he can do the most with it. But those guys bring a lot of energy. Yeah, JoJo maybe down the line. PK, I need to see him in a game situation, but I think that both he and Tay Nakua could possibly have it down the line.
PK and I were talking about the odds of getting to 6 wins. I think it's more likely than not. I think it hangs in the balance, and there'll be some stuff that breaks both for and against them. So there's a little wiggle room there. I don't really see an off-the-charts, 9-3 or anything like that coming. But they were so close last year in 3 games that it doesn't seem to me that and their backup quarterback spot's going to be better this year than it was last year, however the starter role works out. So I think 6 or 7 wins is more likely than getting stuck on 5, but there's no guarantees. What do you think?
Well, I think that you're very accurate. I think both of you are right on it. And this is what BYU fans are going to have to wait on and look for. You're probably going to have 4 wins going into the final 2 games. Or at least the hope is you have at least 4 wins going into those final 2 games, which I believe are Houston and Arizona State.
Yeah.
So that's it right there, DJ. You're going to have to wait and possibly until game 12 to know if you're bowl eligible. And it might be a situation, again, like it was last year, sitting through a lot of games and some losses because that schedule gets so wacky through September, through October, and into November that we might all be waiting until those final 2 games to see what ground they can make up. Now, the good news is I think Houston and Arizona State are ripe for the picking. The bad news is you got to make it through an entire season, and you got to have your quarterback straight, and you got to have a healthy team, and you got to have all the luck on your side to make sure that Houston and Arizona State are wins. But I do think, I know there's a lot of people that are high on Central Florida, and Gus Malzahn with KJ Jefferson, and they do have, I think, the 3rd best running back in the entire conference coming back. So I've got a lot of I got a lot of expectations for Central Florida, but I do think BYU can get that win in Orlando. And I think they should get that win in Orlando. I think they should split SMU and Wyoming. I think that they should get that win right out of the gates. I think that they've got to manufacture and sniff out one more win to get to that 4-win total so that they can make sure that they seal up 6 by the end of the season. And yeah, I think 6 is it. I put it at 6. If they get 7, it's like, man, that's a great season. That's a really solid season. If they get 8, it's like extend Kalani, extend him, because that's a gigantic jump from anything that people thought could be possible with the quarterbacks that they currently have. So I think expectations are to a point where you could be really happy if they find a way to 7 and 8.
You're a trenches guy, and obviously both sides weren't good enough at last season's performance. And there's talk of this year with a new line coach on the offensive side and some dudes and some guys returning that they'll have a better pass rush, all that. Sort of have a little bit of a skepticism about that and wait and see. How much do you buy in that they'll be effective on both sides?
Well, I always get myself in trouble on this, but this is where I'm just going to say I don't buy it and show it to me. Because if you're listing Banya as your starting edge, then I don't buy it because I watched him a lot and he didn't get there. And if you're telling me that Tyler Batty is going to go from getting pressures to getting sacks, I don't buy it. I love that kid. I have a lot of faith in him. I'd love to see him be the next double-digit sack guy at BYU, first since like 2012 or 11, since one of the Kafusis. I would love to see it, but I need to see it. I mean, I've got to see it. I've got, I think, a 3-year sample size at Tyler Batty, and I want to say high-end sack was 4, and I think that there might have been a couple of years of 2 or 2.5 in there. And I love him, and I do think he's a great DN. I think he's a fantastic run-stop DN, but you're asking me about pressures.
Yeah.
And so I just say, show it to me. Show it to me. To this entire defensive staff, it's like, let's go. You know, and here's the crazy thing, PK, and you know these guys really well. They go and hire Gary Anderson and Chad Kalaha to be behind the scenes as coordinators and analysts and the help staff. And it's like, I don't know if you could have 2 better guys that are working techniques and schemes and designs. And so if it doesn't happen, I know this, they had the coaching. They've got the scheme, because I've seen Gary Anderson's scheme and Jay Hill's defensive understanding, and I've seen those schemes work time and time again and be top 10 in the country in sacks. So then we got to go back to the drawing board and figure out where the hell this thing's broken. Because so what I'm saying, PK, prove it to me. Yeah. And until I see it proven, I'm not buying it.
Right.
Okay, now I listen to you talk, and I feel way less confident about them winning 7 games. I mean, the line of scrimmage, we started talking pass rush with Papinga, and he went right to, hey, our run defense has got to be better. Let's get that fixed first, and then we'll fix the pass.
Boy, that's the truth. I mean,
okay, you're just dragging everybody down, Hans. You're usually Mr. Positive.
Well, here's the thing, though, DJ. Like, the numbers don't lie from last year. And, you know, they're 109th in the country in run-stop defense. So, yeah, you got to get better. And I'll tell you, first and foremost, what I think that defensive front was one of the biggest issues on getting the run stop. Every time they ran any type of Rams or Lions, or they ran any type of hard slants or hard digs, they were getting washed, hit in the back, pushed to the sideline, gaps were opening laterally. Like, it was really tough to watch, just some of the basic usage of your defensive front. So I do believe it's going to get better, DJ. Like, the run stop, I would put a lot of money that that's going to get better, even though you're going to be seeing a lot of the same stud running backs. I do believe that's going to get better, but it's got to get a lot better. But I also want to point out, too, that defensive backfield, the DBs, the safeties, I'm actually feeling a lot better about them. Feeling a lot better. Feeling better about having Harper out there. Feeling better about having Alfrey healthy. Feeling really good about Jacob Robinson, and I know that they've got two new guys, one transfer that they're really trying to work in. So I feel good about the back end. I was watching that Oklahoma game, and they pushed a drop 8 quite a bit, especially in the first quarter and a half. And I think that you got to find a way to maybe rush 4, get yourself really going into 5 against some of these bigger teams this year.
Hans, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks for joining us, and we'll expect more football at noon when you and Scotty G take over the airwaves.
I will tell you, DJ, every time this year it happens without fail. I kind of hit this optimistic peak for both Utah, BYU, and even Utah State. I get this bottle of optimism where I'm watching the film and I believe these guys are going to return and do great things. And I mean, right out of the gates, man, we're going to get a good feel for this, and I just can't wait to get to kickoff. Thanks for your time, guys.
All right, thank you, Hans. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Your feedback coming up next, Jazz fans. A couple of them are pretty funny. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.